Welcome back, everybody. Clay and Buck here. We've got former governor of New Jersey, Christie, with us now. He is running for president. And Governor Christie, appreciate you being with us.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Happy to be back.
So can we start? We do want to get into the politics, the campaign, all that stuff. But as you know, today, huge news, back and forth, all this craziness. You were a federal prosecutor for years in New Jersey. And as you see what's going on right now in Delaware in this courthouse, the plea deal for Hunter Biden is on, then it's off, then it's on. Now it's off again. Apparently, he just pleaded not guilty. What is going on here?
Well, I've been talking about this for weeks, fellas, that I didn't think this judge would approve this plea because it didn't make any sense to give him a plea to a 2-count misdemeanor tax deal and to dismiss the gun charge and to give him immunity going forward. Made no sense. And I didn't think a judge would approve it. And I've been saying that for weeks, and I'm glad that the judge showed that someone's paying attention here and who cares about justice being done. And she obviously does, and made sure that she wasn't going to approve this deal under those circumstances. And so it's one fellow. He pled not guilty. They say they have an ongoing investigation into other matters that they will not give him immunity for. So, he's back in the jackpot.
All right, so I'm curious. We're talking to Christie. You were a U.S. attorney for a long time. Have you ever had a plea deal fall apart in open court like this? Point one. Point two, why don't, and in situations like these, shouldn't there be cameras in federal courthouse? So instead of relying on the few handful of reporters that might actually be there, in matters of this magnitude, shouldn't the American public be able to watch these play out in real time, whether it's this case or potentially a Trump prosecution down the road?
Well, first of all, I never had a plea deal fall apart in open court, and certainly you would never let it happen on a case as prominent and noteworthy as this.
So this is unprecedented. That's what I just want to get at for people out there listening. Like, this just doesn't happen in your experience, and you're pretty well experienced in these kind of cases.
I ran the 5th largest office in the country for 7 years. And we did 130 political corruption prosecutions without a defeat. We're 130-0. I never saw anything like this. Secondly, as for cameras in the courtroom, I have a problem with cameras in the courtroom at all. I think that there are times when people will put on a bit more of a show in the courtroom if they know it's on TV. But otherwise, I think the trade-off you get in transparency for the public to see exactly what's going on and be able to make their own evaluations of what's going on, almost like a public jury who's going to sit out there and actually be able to see it rather than read the characterizations. I think the trade-off getting that is worth it. Histrionics you might see in a courtroom because of cameras.
Okay, so you've been in these situations for a long time as a U.S. attorney. What will happen now in your mind associated with the Hunter Biden investigation? And maybe more importantly, what should happen? If Christie were Attorney General of the United States, how would you handle this?
Well, if I were Attorney General of the United States, right now I would end all of this baloney that's been going on and appoint a special counsel. You simply can't be seen as objective now that there are very clear allegations from whistleblowers about potential involvement of the President of the United States, and you're prosecuting the sitting president's son. There should be a special counsel. End of discussion. I mean, this is not even, it wasn't a close call before. Now, I don't know how Merrick Garland says, oh yeah, U.S. Attorney Weiss is qualified to handle this. U.S. Attorney Weiss couldn't get a plea deal approved. I mean, the incompetence on this from the government side of it is breathtaking. And yeah, the defense attorneys have a problem as well. They should have had this buttoned down, or they should have never walked into the courtroom. But they don't have the burden of proof, and they don't have the power of the government behind them. I would tell you this. If my AUSCs who had screwed this thing up this badly, they'd be looking for a new job. And I probably would be looking for a new job too if I had overseen it that way. So, my point to you is the most important thing now, I think, is for the Attorney General to stop the charade, get rid of U.S. Attorney Weiss off of this case, and appoint a special counsel who can investigate everything and do it independently.
Speaking of Governor Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, he's running for president. And Governor Christie, in that regard, do you think that additional charges are imminent against your top competitor in the Republican field, Donald Trump, and how do you see that playing out?
Look, I have to assume they're imminent because I can tell you that I never sent a target letter to someone unless I already knew that I had more than enough evidence to indict them. And so I think once the target letter was sent, laying out specific statutes that they were the target of an investigation, I think that it is inevitable that Donald Trump will be indicted by the special counsel for a second time. It will involve the three statutes that were cited in the target letter. It may involve other ones as well, and it may involve other if you don't know that. But what I do know from the target letter is no U.S. attorney is, or in this case, special counsel, is going to send a target letter without having every intention of indicting the target.
We're talking to former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. He's running for president in the Republican primary. Sorry, this Hunter Biden thing is just so crazy, and I know you're trying to get your hands wrapped around it as we are as well, and I just want to reiterate for our audience, you did 7 years of prosecutions, 130, I think you said, of political-based prosecutions, went 130-0. You've never seen anything happen like what happened here. What is there any doubt in your mind that if Hunter Biden weren't the son of the President of the United States, that he'd be facing serious jail time based on your knowledge of the criminal code? And second part of that, I asked you what should happen. What do you think will happen? Like if you're Joe Biden and you're Merrick Garland and you've just seen everything blow up like this, first of all, it's blown up in such a public way, Governor, that even all these people who don't want to cover the Hunter Biden story, this is the proverbial crap hits the fan moment where everything's spraying in every direction, and it's almost impossible even for them to cover up. What do you think they're thinking? Buck and I like to talk as if we were, the other side sometimes. Let's presume Joe Biden's brain actually works and he's capable of having a rational discussion with reasoned advisors. What would that discussion look like? What do you think they're saying right now?
Look, I think that if you're advising the president at this point, if the president is, I don't think the president should have conversations with Merrick Garland because I think it would be even more inappropriate for him to talk to Merrick Garland about this. Merrick Garland should know on his own that it's ball game here. Game over, playing with U.S. Attorney Weiss. Yes, he was appointed by Donald Trump, but I got to tell you, it looks like he's pretty friggin' incompetent. I got to tell you the truth. And Merrick Garland should be calling the White House. Away in an hour, I'm sending out a press release announcing the special counsel. That's it. Because it now appears that an independent federal judge has said that this plea deal, she's now said what I've been saying for weeks, that this plea deal makes no sense. You can make no sense of why the defense is doing this or why the prosecution is doing it. And as a result, if something makes no sense, what I learned in this business, fellas, is there are no coincidences. None. And you need to have special counsel come and look at this. And I think that is what will happen. I don't think that you can avoid it if you're Merrick Garland anymore. Who's going to have confidence in U.S. Attorney Weiss after he couldn't get a plea deal past a judge that, by the way, his office probably appears before 5 days a week? Delaware's not a big place. There's not that many judges there. This judge probably has AUSAs from the Delaware office appearing before her on a daily basis. And if she won't trust what they're doing, how the hell should we trust it?
If you were thinking about this from the perspective of the Hunter Biden defense team, what do you think their play is now? Assuming that the special counsel, let's just put that aside for a second, what would their next moves here be?
Well, their first move is going to be saying, shoot, we almost got away with it. That's going to be the first thing. Then they didn't get away with it. I think now, they're going to have to see, they're going to be in reactive mode now because they can't any longer assert that they have an agreement. So now that's why they entered the not guilty plea, because it was an arraignment. And an arraignment is when the purpose of an arraignment is for a defendant to either enter a guilty or a not guilty plea. If it's a guilty, like it was supposed to be today, then the judge goes through what's called an allocution, where the judge asks serious questions to establish the factual basis for Hunter Biden's guilty plea and the legal basis for it, and the fact that he was doing so freely with advice of counsel and not under duress of any kind. Once all of those questions are answered and assume they're answered in the affirmative, then and only then would she accept the guilty plea. So now she has an arraignment that she thought was a guilty plea with no guilty plea. You can't just adjourn the arraignment with doing nothing. So she's saying, okay, I'm not accepting this plea, Hunter. What's your pleasure? And they answered a not guilty plea. And now they're going to go back to the U.S. Attorney's Office. My guess is they try to see how the U.S. Attorney's Office reacts. And before anything happens with a special counsel, they try to negotiate another plea. That's why I think the Attorney General has to step in. We cannot trust this U.S. Attorney's Office to negotiate another plea after they so royally messed up this one. And so I think if you're Hunter's lawyers, you think you almost got away with it, you didn't. So now you got to try one more time. But my guess is that they won't get another chance to negotiate a plea, at least not with the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office. My guess is they're going to have to see a special counsel now.
Well, first of all, we need to get you on again because the timing on this ended up being perfect for you to break down this crazy breaking news scenario. But we didn't get a chance to let you kind of get into the political realm. But this was killer. Thank you for breaking this all down for us. I mean, I can't imagine there being a better guest that could have put this in context.
We'll have him back. Governor Christie, we'll have you back. We had you back the second time, so you'll come back. All right?
Look, I love the show. I'm glad that you had me on. I'm glad that it timed this way because I did this job for 7 years of my life. I love the Department of Justice when it's done the right way. And I will, as president, I'll let you know, I will appoint an attorney general who will prosecute these cases without fear, favor, or partisanship. And we're going to restore the Department of Justice to what it was when I worked, which was the place that protected the country from 9/11 and stopped corporate crime and stopped political crime. This, obviously, the Biden White House doesn't care a lick about any of that stuff, and they better get their act together and appoint a special counsel. So thanks for having me on, fellas, and I'll be happy to come back when it's good for all of you, and we can talk about as much politics as you like.
Awesome stuff. Appreciate that, Governor Chris Christie. I mean, perfect timing given this chaos.